Very happy to welcome to our podium today our speaker, Fern Remedi-Brown. She and her wife, Ginny, have been TI members since before the birth of their first daughter, Netta, in 2000. Their two daughters went through the religious school, and Netta was the first female and first teen of Cantor Einhorn's TI band. Fern and Ginny are regular members of Friday night services. Fern's going to share with you what happened after their younger daughter, Maya, now 21, who was adopted, asked at age 6 to meet her real mom, and the journey that continues today. Welcome.
Okay. Thank you for that kind introduction, Bob. Thank you. As Bob mentioned, what I'm going to share with you began when our adopted daughter, Maya, was 6 years old. So this is our family in 2011. I'm here with my wife, Ginny, who's here today. Maya, age 6, and Maya, age 6, and Netta, age 11, who some of you may remember if you come to services, played in Cantor Einhorn's TI band when she was 17, and she's now 26. Maya was adopted from Guatemala when she was 7 months old. So this story began when, upon Maya's request at age 6 to meet her biological mom. But the impetus and passion for continuing this work really began when I was around the same age. So this is me with my parents and my two brothers. It was around this time that my mother told me that my father's entire family had been murdered by the Nazis. This had a significant impact on me as a young person, and it planted the seeds for my desire to do right in the world, lasting my entire life. Oops. This is my father with his two parents, whom I never met. The legacy of the loss of legacy of family roots affected me deeply. My father was age 10 at this time. On an unconscious level, I realized that had my father not survived, I wouldn't have been born. And as the firstborn child, I was named in my grandmother's memory, and I wanted to do something positive in her honor. This is Maya, age 6, our daughter. She was usually a happy child, but at age 6, she started to cry herself to sleep, asking for her real mom. That's how she called it, even though she has two adoptive moms. There was no question in my mind that we would try to find her biological family because of my own background. So we didn't know, but her biological mom, named Olivia, lives a very far distance away from the tourist areas of Guatemala. We knew she was adopted from Guatemala, but we didn't know exactly where until we started the journey. And when we found her in 2015, we learned that she lived in a destitute, remote region called Northeast Alta Verapaz. Alta Verapaz is a very large area, but this is the Northeast region. It's mountainous, it has no tourism, it has no governmental or non-governmental assistance. It's so remote that most Guatemalans don't know that it exists. It doesn't have a name. And it was through minimal connections that led to others and a series of miracles that we got to each point in our process. To get there from Antigua, Guatemala, which is in the south, it's not really in the south, but in the south in this map, takes 12 hours through this route, which is the longer route, but it's safer because the more direct route, straight, has no cell service. And they're mountainous roads with no guardrails, no shoulders on the roads, strong possibility of mudslides, and then when the rock boulder hits the highway, it actually makes a big hole. So that's why we go that route. So this is Olivia with her two younger children. This is Maya's biological mom. She lives in a clapboard home with the dirt floor, no running water. The plastic you see is to keep the rain out. No internet. She doesn't, like many people in the region, she doesn't read or write, and she doesn't know Spanish. only her native Kekchi. And yeah, okay. So then we did meet her when Maya was 10. We met her in Antigua, Guatemala. In this photo, Olivia is 31. She looks much older. And Maya is about her size, age 10. So you can see what poverty does. This is where Olivia lives. The name of the village is Chachmaik. So Ginny and I wanted to help Olivia and her family, which we learned extended to her 8 siblings and their families, but we didn't know what to do. It was clearly that the entire village was in need, and even helping Olivia and her family was beyond what we could do. But we had a desire, and the seeds of hope were planted on both sides. So we worked to develop a nonprofit organization, Sowing Opportunities, which we established in 2018. This is me. I'm in Chachmaik. This was in 2018. So teaming with the new project manager, Ricardo, we accomplished several tasks. The first was working with the municipal mayor, and they built a 600,000-gallon capacity water tank at the top of a very steep hill, and the infrastructure in the village to deliver water to each of the 250 homes. Now it's more people living there via faucet. So it's just a plain faucet sitting there. Second was during the COVID-19 pandemic, we delivered 12.5 tons of groceries to 3,000 people in the village in 2010 and continued in 2020 and continued in 2021. And then the third thing was that in August 2021, we conducted a needs assessment of 125 members of the village. And the land is very rocky and mountainous, and it's unfarmable. So we brought in an agricultural engineer who described what was possible. You can see how muddy it is. That's their floor in their home. This is somebody's home. So during the rainy season, it's mud. We learned that the people were interested in greenhouse agriculture and what vegetables they wanted to plant, and this began our current project. So now we have an expert agricultural engineer who, I'll say more about him later. He's an incredible teacher. In March 2022, we began the greenhouse agriculture project in the first village, Chachmaik. To the next slide. Greenhouses give a higher rate of higher yield with less land and less water required, and thrive despite the region's severe heat and drought in the summer and hurricanes and torrential rain in the winter. Greenhouses are resilient to heat and flooding, and they're easy to tend. And our agriculture engineer, his name is Federico, he learned a system, he developed a system based on what he learned in Spain, Brazil, and Israel. He learned drip irrigation in Israel. We provide seedlings, fertilizer, insecticide, a proprietary soil additive, and a color-coded system that guides people who cannot read or write. The results were astounding. The produce grew at an unexpectedly fast rate. Instead of 3 harvests a year, they were producing 4 robust harvests a year. Every 3 months, they had a harvest. That means that the 30 families in the pilot project in 2022 had each harvested nearly 400 pounds, or a total of 6 tons of produce for the whole village. This is a photo from August 2022 when the team returned to the region and visited Chachmaik. Each group decides which vegetables they want to harvest, and there are about a dozen varieties of vegetables. This is the second village. So we went and moved on to a second village. But we learned that it was not only Maya's biological village, but also the entire region that had a need. And each year we have added another village, so now we are working with 4. So these are the women in class. This is somebody's front porch, and they're there with their children, learning about how to manage a greenhouse. This is a photo of the agriculture engineer teaching in the 3rd village named Sispila in February 2024. This is a photo of my visit to the third village of Sisbilla 1 month later. So they're growing them, and then this is what results 1 month later. It was incredible to see that. Many of the men in these villages have left to try to get to the U.S. and never been heard from. So the women and children are on their own. They're incredibly motivated to do the work even through the night because they want their kids, their families to have food. And some of them have even developed small businesses selling their surplus vegetables in the market. There's one example. She's an entrepreneur. This is 3 pictures of, in the third village of Sisbilla, attaining water is an incredibly difficult task. So first they walk 1.5 miles to get to what they call a well. But what it really is, and you can kind of see here, the guy's looking down. It's 65 feet down, 20 meters down. So it's a hole in the ground, rock-lined, just very rough. They throw a bucket down, and there's a mountain spring underneath. And bucket by bucket, they pull it up, and that's how they get their water. They put it on their backs. Usually it's a kid or a woman, and they walk 1.5 miles back with that water for all their water needs, if you can imagine. It's just breathtaking to witness that. This is in Salaguna, the second village. They have water a little more accessible. There's a river, but they have to walk down. This is 6 and 8-year-old girls. They have to walk down a steep rocky mountain, which is about 1 mile down, and then they have to carry the water on their backs up, very steep and rocky, which is dangerous, especially if it's raining. But even with the scarce water and difficulty in gathering it, the greenhouses are flourishing. So it's a testimony to the dedication of the people and also our team. So then in 2025, last year, we decided, well, actually, we were approached by 2 school principal and a teacher in a 1-room schoolhouse. They said, we want agriculture, greenhouse agriculture for our students, a curriculum. So they now have it. Then we moved to a second school. This is kids moving I think, banana tree. Somebody helped to chop it, and they're moving this. So in order to clear the space for the greenhouse, they had to cut down the trees. They weren't trees that were producing much. It's not a serious loss because what they got in return was so much more. So they were clearing space in the second school for 7 double greenhouses. And then the kids are all in. They're digging deep holes so that the greenhouse poles can be planted. And they construct the greenhouse. Some of the older kids help out in holding up the poles. They put up the sides on the greenhouse. And they bring soil down from the mountain. So there's many mountains. It's a highly mountainous area. And that's where the fertile soil is, because the soil on the ground is very rocky and can't grow anything. And they can't really import soil. It's too costly and heavy. And then they shovel the soil into buckets and then put them into the greenhouses. Each school has their own double greenhouse. And then once the sides are up, then they fill it with soil. And this is our agriculture engineer measuring. And then the seedlings are planted. The kids have never had anything like this in their lives. This is a destitute area, if you can imagine, a very impoverished area here in Massachusetts, but even more so because they're lacking so many resources that we take for granted, like running water. Working with the schools has been transformative. The students are teaching their parents, they're learning a trade, and most importantly, they have a reason to stay in Guatemala and build lives in their own communities, and they've said so, rather than making the dangerous journey north, which a lot of their family members have done. So you can see how engaged they are. That's with our project manager and how flourishing the greenhouses are. For the first time, the students get regular school lunches. This is really key, because that might be the only meal they get that day. We're working with 6 public primary schools plus 4 villages. So now we have 6, starting in 2026. And they have increased food security in the area. There's no shortage of need, and there are villages and schools which would like to learn this skill from our team. In the words of one participant in Salaguna, that's me, I'm not just thanking you for the greenhouses. You give us more than we can see. You're giving us respect when no one else has. We're forgotten by the world. So this is at a glance what we've been able to achieve. 800. This was in 2025. It's more now. 850 people were trained. 206 students taught. 2 primary schools, 4 communities. But now we have 6 public primary schools. Our work has proven to be scalable and could potentially be replicated throughout Guatemala and elsewhere in Latin America, combating poverty and allowing communities to flourish. We can truly say that Seedlings have transformed a region. So I'm available for your questions. I also have a sign-up sheet in case you're interested in learning more, a sign-up sheet there, and also a brochure. So, thank you so much. Thank you. Let's see the time. Yes.
Thank you. Maybe I missed it, but how did you adopt your daughter? Did the family know you were adopting it?
Okay. Yeah, it's a very valid question. Yeah. So back in the day, before the international adoptions were practically stopped around the world because of fear of human trafficking, which in some cases was a real thing and not in all cases. There were adoption agencies, both the domestic and then an international, and that's how we worked. So the international worked within the country, within that country, and then they talked to one another. And so we had a social worker and a representative from the domestic agency, and they communicated with the international adoption agency. The people in the village did not know where their child ended up. So when we met Olivia in 2015, when Maya was 10, she said, "I never thought I'd see you again." So it's not like we have here open adoptions. It's not that like that at all. And not everybody decides to go and seek their biological family of their adopted child. I don't know the percentage of people who choose to do it, but many people want to but can't, or for whatever reason. I mean, it does open up a lot when you do that. And I have heard that it would not be safe for me to say that we have adopted a child from the particular village that we're working in. I think they would, because they're not educated. They don't read or write. They don't have access to internet. So they get the wrong idea. They'll think, okay, the worst. So that child was trafficked or whatever, or they'll think bad things. That's what I've been told. So I don't mention it at all, just that I care. What's my connection? I'm a caring person. I'm a religious person. I don't even have to say Jewish because you never know. They don't even know what Jewish is. So I mean, they don't have preconceived notions of any of that because they don't have. Our minds are expanded. Like, imagine TILLI. It's just they don't have anything like that. They just have each other, and gossip travels, etc. So I don't know if I answered your question. Did that answer it? Yeah. Okay.
Hi. I have a question.
Yes.
Where did the funding come from for the expenses for this adventure?
Oh, well, so we have a nonprofit now in 2018, but when we started in 2015, we had GoFundMe. So Actually, what I'm going to say is we got a huge amount of funding from a different religious organization. So Ginny is my wife Ginny is a former Roman Catholic nun, and her convent broke up during the Vatican II and 1960s, and they formed a lay community. There was a lay community formed in Appalachia, in Virginia and in North Carolina, other parts of the region, and that we're connected with that group, and we go every year. They're like another part of our spiritual family, even though I'm Jewish, but it's fine, and it works. And they helped us get started. A lot of them individually, and the group itself helped us get started. So that was GoFundMe. I was sending out just regular emails. Then we established the nonprofit, and then we realized that just a regular email and GoFundMe is not so professional, and we became a little bit more professional. And so we get funds through donations, but actually what we do a lot of is sell Guatemalan fair trade handicrafts. We partnered with an organization, just really a one-woman show, who goes to 10 different cooperatives across Guatemala to get fair trade handicrafts, and we do a lot of craft fairs. And that brings in 2/3, 3/4 of the money that we have. If, God willing, we can have the possibility of funding from some large organization, that would be fabulous, but we're not at that moment yet. Yes?
So,
Sorry. So, let's see. So 1, 2, 3, I guess?
I'm wondering whether you get help or the opposite of help from the government there, either the local government or the national government, or they just ignore you?
They
What's the
hate
status?
us.
They hate you.
Because we represent strength and self-sustainability for the people. So if you want to control people, keep them poor and hungry. And we're not doing that. So I have to keep a low profile because there's folks around who may see me there. And being a woman, that's not so great. My project manager is fabulous. He always protects me when I go there. But he too is at risk because of that. They don't want that. And what's really ironic is that they know us. The government there knows us because we are the only NGO helping in that entire region of Northeast Alta Verapaz. And I remember trying when Kamala Harris was vice president to figure out how to connect with her. I wrote a proposal and I gave it to, anyway, so I was unable to reach her because she was donating funds, $3 billion, to the Triangle area, which is Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, but specifically for agriculture, but I was unable. They're trying to do something in Guatemala like this, what we're doing, but they're spending more money than they're actually helping people. So, yeah, they don't give us any money, no. That would be nice, I guess. So, yes, you had.
Yes, thank you. I didn't know I was coming here. I grabbed a bag at home because I wanted to carry something.
Yes.
And this bag is actually from...
Oh, yeah, your microphone.
Sorry. This bag is from a friend who spends time in Guatemala and was selling them as fundraiser for people, women in Guatemala who are making them. And that's just so funny that I brought it today.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think what you're doing is heroic and wonderful. I wish that it would spread, but I guess the government doesn't want it to, so you have a problem. I also had one more question.
But we're still going forward.
Good.
Our team in Guatemala, it's just 3 people. It's incredible.
Amazing.
And we do have some board members in Guatemala, but the agriculture engineer, I mean, he came up with the idea of
Amazing.
4 more schools this year. In 2026, we had 2, now we have 6, and he wants to expand.
I just had one more question. Do they have any power, any electricity, any solar power? Is that something also?
Solar power is a really great idea.
Yes.
Sometimes people have suggested this and that. They're hesitant to do something outside of their normal, what they understand. But some ideas have been proposed, and I've shared those with our project manager. But in terms of electricity, what I witnessed was in this one-room home, the clapboard home, they have an electrical wire that goes across the top. It's not so safe. And that powers everything within their home. Yeah, not so safe, right? So if you're having flooding.
Where do they get the electricity then, if it's not solar?
No, I guess that comes from the town, from the municipality. Yeah, I didn't ask that question. That's true. Not everybody had. Yeah. Well, you had a question first, and then you.
I wonder if you could sell the things that the people are making at the festival in February that's held here, the Arts Festival.
Yeah, so it's not, the people in the region have no trade, but I work with the Thread of Hope Guatemala Fair Trade, and she works with 10 different cooperatives that are in a more touristy area. I mean, I don't know because they're not Jewish. It's a Jewish art
We're
festival.
helping somebody.
I did ask that question, but I think we didn't get in at the right moment. Yeah, Jenny's a jewelry artist, and she could I think sell something there, but maybe we can figure that out. Yeah, we'll have to ask the right person. Oh, sorry. You had a question first.
I'll pass it on.
Okay.
Hi, Fern.
Hi, Ava. Ava was one of the miracle people who connected us early on.
Because oddly enough, my linguistics degree was writing a grammar of Kekchi, the language that is spoken in this region. And I'm director of development of an NGO that is also situated in Alta Verapaz.
Yeah.
But I'm here to applaud you and your work and the transformational difference it's making in the lives of these Kekchi people who otherwise wouldn't have these vegetables. And it's really, really important. And I don't think anyone can quite appreciate the difference this makes in a family's life or in their trajectory of what can possibly happen as in terms of providing a different choice, that is staying put, becoming an entrepreneur, providing food security for your family, and economic empowerment. And that's a holistic look at well-being. It's not just financial security. It changes the life of the whole community.
Yes.
And so I just applaud what you're doing, and I'm so grateful that you're actually reaching. Actually, your 6 schools are also part of our project area. So our organization, Heart of Corn. Corn is, in fact, the sustainable. Well, if you know the origin story, Mayas were created from corn, and it's also a product that they use to sustain their life. But we focus on education and in secondary education. So and this is something I wanted to connect with you about. One of our partners is very focused on agriculture, and we just introduced in our secondary school an agronomy class, and it has changed.
Wow, that's great.
The kids learn all sorts of, they learn the whole trade. They're teaching their families how to grow gardens. We did 8 vegetables. It's in the secondary school. But it makes such a huge impact, and so I really understand what you're doing. But this organization, this foundation, which I'd like to give you an introduction to, is has helped us enormously, not just in terms of providing vocational training to our teachers and the students and providing the course, but even providing corn, fertilizer, and organic substances so that the families, we've identified 300 families, so that they could grow corn and help sustain the food in the 44 villages that we are working with in Alta Verapaz. So it's sort of a full circle thing, and it's something that I think might work for you too. I don't know.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds amazing. We need to talk further about it. Oh, this gentleman had his hand out for a little bit.
All right, well,
Okay.
I'll ask my question, then bring this over.
Okay, yes,
So
thank you.
Bennett can
Thank you
ask.
so much. Yeah.
So thank you very much for being here and telling us about your program.
you.
As one of the agricultural engineer, where does he come from that's helped you design this program?
He lives in Antigua, Guatemala, which is sort of like Harvard Square-ish.
So does
It's
he
very
have-
cosmopolitan. People come from all over the world. They have street musicians. It's a beautiful, fun
But does he
place.
get? Is he on the salary of a government agency, or he's just on his own? You were able to connect with
I
him.
raised this year. My goal is $58,000 total, and I'm doing that by myself, which I don't want to. But anyway, I want much more. I want him to get a better salary. I want our project manager to get a better salary, and we have a social worker. So I work for free. These aren't really great sustainability things. I give donations. It would be better if there was some large entity, but this is shoestring budget at this moment.
So the Peace Corps at one time was very active in Guatemala. Is there anything left of the Peace Corps in Guatemala? I'm sure they must have had volunteers working in this kind of area of sustainable development.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
You're not sure? Okay.
Yeah, we tried to reach out to USAID. That didn't go very far.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that's sad.
All right, here's
Now this
Bennett.
gentleman. So here's the microphone.
You know about the Arava Institute in Israel?
Arava?
Yeah, I mean they work. It's a school, a training program, research and development. They have projects heavily in the Middle East, but also in Africa. I don't know if they have anything in Central America. They work in communities probably a little bit like this in Africa, in bringing in
I know they do a lot of work in Africa. I mean,
clean
Israel.
water technology, electricity, and education in the ecology. And they have, they're here in the United States, Friends of the Arava Institute, ARAVAA. They're a terrific organization.
Can check. I can check. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll take notes. Arava.
How involved is Maya now in this work and in the village?
Maya has a lot of issues. And I think meeting her biological mom was a shock. You might have seen in that photo that her biological mom has a lot of psychological issues as well. She doesn't work. She fell into a deep depression after her third child was born. So, yeah, it's Maya sometimes helps, gives us a hug. I think she appreciates what we're doing at a distance. She's 21. I think she needs more time to deal with herself. Yeah. I mean, it's weird enough to have two moms, and then we're Jewish, and all of those things. Yeah, that's not normal for her, and we're not the same race. So, but I think she's coming to some semblance of being maybe she will be a pioneer with this someday. We hope so. That would be cool. But we tried to reserve judgment. Give her some space on that. Yeah, sorry, not the answer probably you wanted to hear. Oh, thank you. Did you have a question?
Hi, yeah, I have a question. I'm assuming from what you have said that there's very little in the way of formal health care.
Yeah,
and
nothing.
I was wondering how they were affected, if at all, by COVID and the pandemic. And are there anything such as vaccines there or available, or what's going on with health care?
Yeah, people are afraid of vaccines. They thought they were being poisoned, that they would become sterile. I mean, you know, you think of Tuskegee, what happened there. We tried. At one point, we had a connection with the health department, which we no longer have, and the young children were at least being weighed and measured for height to see a before and after, and then we lost that connection. But in order to get any kind of health care, they have to take a 3-wheeled taxi 30 minutes into the closest town to go for any health care. So they usually do home remedies, something that they can manage on their own. And that's just a little Band-Aid place. The large hospital is 4 hours away. So they don't have health care. People die. Yeah, it's sad. Yeah. Yes.
Hi. Your story really touched me, as I'm also an adoptive parent and really haven't really thought of how we could give back to a different country. But I'm kind of very much taken by how you and your daughter set out to go visit her family of origin and came back starting a nonprofit. There must have been a few steps in between.
Yeah.
But did this become your new full-time job once you came back?
Yeah. I mean, I was also teaching at the same time, so I was balancing both. But even though I'm retirement age, I'm definitely working more than full-time on this, because not only do I create all the content on social media and our website, you know, emails, I process all the information, the stories and the photos, and put it into some way that people can receive. I manage all the funds, and then I have this side business that supplies the funds, which is selling the Guatemalan Fair Trade handicrafts. So, it's definitely more than full-time, but it gives me something so much back. When you see all of the things that are happening in the world, and you think, oh my God, what can I do? I know that in one tiny corner of the world that people's lives are being improved, and so that gives me the motivation to keep going. And it really was just, I'm going to say beshert. There's like one thing to another, that we ended up being able to do this. We were open, and people came into our lives. It was just, Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. Time to go. Yeah, time to go to the next thing.